The world we live in is noisy. Everybody is speaking at the same time. It's almost as if nobody even listens anymore. Unfortunately, this noisy nature of our world has made it harder to be heard. It can become easy for your voice to get drowned out and for your opinions to be dismissed. But if you're interesting, you have a far greater chance of standing out, of people noticing you and listening to what you have to say. And it's no surprise that being interesting carries far more benefits than, well, being boring. Networking comes easier, friendships come easier, even jobs and love interests can be less difficult to land. But to become interesting, you don't need to become a completely different person. You already are that person. All you need to do is figure out how to best showcase it, which is why today we're taking a look at 15 ways to be more interesting. Welcome to A-Lux. Number 1. Find a passion. Starting this list with your passion isn't a coincidence, okay? It's simply a reminder of the fact that almost everything to become more interesting is already within you. Most of us are passionate about something. It could be saving the planet, music, being a vegetarian, a social issue such as bullying, or even a character from a movie. For example, Elon Musk is insanely passionate about going to space, and you can't deny how interesting he becomes when he talks about it. The trick is this: if you're passionate about something, learn about it and talk to your friends about it when you can. People always love to see individuals who care about something so deeply, and when these individuals talk about their passion, it's almost impossible not to listen. Number 2. Know interesting things. Remember Sheldon Cooper from The Big Bang Theory? This smart and socially awkward man had an interesting fact for every conversation. Even though his friends eventually got tired of it, there were times when they genuinely found him interesting despite his eccentric nature. Knowing interesting things will naturally make you a great conversationalist. This is because your brain has fed off of movies, books, comics, podcasts, blogs, and museums, which in turn allows you to explore random conversations from brilliant perspectives. The more you learn and the more knowledge you fill your brain with, the more interesting you become to speak with. Number 3. Embrace your weirdness. A few years ago, being weird wouldn't have passed as being cool. In fact, kids still get bullied in schools for being considered weird or just different. Unfortunately, most of these kids will grow into individuals who would do anything to fit in, even if it means altering their entire personality. Even in our friend groups, we sometimes hesitate to say or act a certain way because we feel it'll come off as being too weird. So we bottle up this weirdness and sort of become a different person. But being weird works in a totally different way. Did you know that being special or weird or strange makes you more memorable? People are far more likely to remember that weird guy who danced awfully but so confidently. Or remembering that weird girl who mixed and matched unconventional clothes to create her own style. Rather than push your weirdness away so you can feel like part of the group, embrace your weird self. Be quirky. Allow yourself to be your most natural, and people will naturally gravitate toward you. Also, it should go without saying that you shouldn't judge others for being weird or different either. Let them also be at their most comfortable selves. Number 4. Listen to people. We started off this by explaining how noisy our world is and how this noisiness can drown out people's voices. So it shouldn't come as a surprise that people are dying to have someone listen to them. In a book named How to Win Friends and Influence People, Dale Carnegie says, "To be interesting, be interested." People love to be listened to. It reminds them that they matter, and someone in the world sees that. Sometimes you don't even need to have an answer to their burning questions. All you need to do is be interested in what they have to say. If you do this, you'll see how they naturally pay more attention to you. We sometimes think that being a great conversationalist means being a good talker, but it is equally about being a good listener. Number 5. Learn how to tell stories. Having interesting stories is one thing. Knowing how to share those stories is perhaps way more important. Have you ever had to listen to someone talk about an interesting situation, yet you just couldn't follow along because it was just really boring? That's exactly how bad storytelling can ruin a good story. Being a good storyteller means knowing how to start the story, knowing how to establish the characters involved, how to keep the listeners hooked, how to remove the boring stuff, and more importantly, how to make a boring story sound interesting. Learn to tell your fascinating experiences in interesting ways and watch your friends become mesmerized when you begin talking. Number 6. Don't be quiet about your opinions. Nobody would find you interesting if you never share your opinions, thoughts, or feelings about something. Your opinions matter, and no matter how different you think you might sound, you should always share them. Your friends don't always have to agree with your opinion, they just have to respect your opinion and not insult you for it. There will also be times when you know next to nothing about the subject of the conversation, and it's totally fine to stay quiet during these discussions or simply say, "Hey, I don't know what we're talking about, tell me more." But if it's a subject that interests you and you've got a fascinating opinion in your head, say it, Alex, or it'll be a great contribution. Number 7. Pick up new hobbies. Do you consider yourself a boring person? Then picking up new hobbies might just be the change you need. Interestingly, having new hobbies wouldn't only give you more fun things to do, it also gives you more fun things to talk about. And never forget, everybody loves listening to fun stories. Now, how do you find new hobbies? Well, you could get started by making a list of all the different things you'd like to do, then take some active steps toward becoming better at them. Number 8. Be mysterious. Aside from embracing your weirdness, one way to become memorable and interesting is to stay a little bit mysterious. As humans, we're naturally fascinated by things or people that we don't fully understand. It's exactly the same reason why we can't seem to stop talking about aliens. So, how can you be that mysterious person everyone's talking about? Well, for starters, don't tell anyone your entire life story. Of course, you could share bits and pieces of your life in separate conversations, and leaving out core parts of your life only causing people to ask questions. Also, you don't have to correct their guesses. You can inform them that they're wrong, but don't spoon-feed them the right answers. These burning questions will make you interesting to them, and I bet you would also love the attention that comes with it. Number 9. Be confident. Being confident is a top-tier trick to becoming interesting. When you walk into a room and ooze confidence, people will want to become associated with you. Your insecurities could be the reason for a lack of confidence. It might be why you always stay quiet among your friends and also avoid being part of the group's conversation. You can work on building your confidence, and by doing this, you can transform yourself from an uninteresting person to that cool cat everybody wants to be friends with. Number 10. Understand who you are. To become an interesting person, you have to first understand the type of person you are. Are you an introvert who enjoys being with extroverts? Or do you prefer being with people who are just like you? Understanding who you are will help you make the right friends, and it'll also contribute to how they perceive you. Number 11. Avoid controversial subjects. Now, this isn't to say you should never touch them. What we're getting at here is it's important to read the room and know your audience. When you're trying to be interesting to others, it'll benefit you more to avoid subjects that are controversial or difficult, because, some people get easily offended when certain topics come up. Also, while it's important to share your opinions on any subject you're interested in, it's equally as important that you know when to chip in and when to stay quiet. You just might offend someone without ever meaning to, and this will only make you less interesting depending on how that person reacts. To be on the safe side, stick with your hobbies and your passions, and if it eventually tilts toward a more difficult subject, make sure you share your thoughts in a respectful manner and ask that others do the same. Number 12. Ask questions. A major part of being a good conversationalist is knowing how to ask the right questions. For starters, the right questions don't have to be prying into personal lives. You could ask someone how a certain event made them feel or how they're coping with their stressful lives. Also, follow up the answer to these questions with even more thoughtful questions, and at the end of the day, you'll probably be the most interesting person that they met. But importantly, don't be shy to ask simple questions. If a person says something you don't fully understand, just ask for them to clarify. It wouldn't make you look like a stupid person. On the flip side, it'll show you're genuinely interested in what this person has to say. Number 13. Develop a sense of humor. Would you prefer to hang out with someone who only sees the negative side of life? Or would you choose someone who sees the lighter side of things? You'd want to go for the latter, right? We all like funny people. They know how to make the best out of every situation. Their happiness is contagious, and there aren't many sad moments with them. Wouldn't you want to be like this too? And being funny is a bonus point if you're trying to impress a date, because research shows that funny people appear more attractive. Number 14. Develop genuine friendships. Talking to friends on a surface level can be exhausting. In fact, it starts to feel like small talk at some point. Get to know your friends on a more personal level. Engage them in more intimate conversations. This means you would have to share some personal details about your own life, and that's totally fine. When you see your friends for who they really are and vice versa, it becomes easier to have deeper and more meaningful conversations, which in turn will make you more interesting to one another. Number 15. Be genuine. In a bid to become more interesting, you could fall into the trap of pretending to be someone else. But you must understand that originality is key, and it is a core factor to always remember when you want to become more interesting. If your friends find out that everything they know about you is a lie, they might not want to be friends with you anymore. Rather than pretend to be someone else, stick to your original self and use the tips in this video to stand out from the crowd. You don't have to change your entire style, behavior, or even lifestyle for people to like you. Your authentic self is enough. Whew, that was quite a ride, right? Do you think you've got better ways to become more interesting? Please tell us about them in the comments. We always love hearing from you. Thanks for spending some time with us today, Alexa. We're so glad you did. If you found value in today's video, please give us a like. Hit that bell icon to never miss an upload, and hey, don't forget to subscribe.